Good morning, one and all. Myself, Dr. Sridhar Rao, welcoming you all for this class. The class is Anti-Thyroid Drugs, Part 2. The Part 1 was taken by the Dr. Ramesh Chandra. My concern for this topic is anti-thyroid drugs. Dr. Ramesh sir taught you about thyroid hormone synthesis, release, and its storage. This anti-thyroid drugs, Part 2, mainly deals with the inhibiting the functioning of the synthesis, release, or storage of the thyroid hormones. Anti-thyroid drugs. These drugs are mainly useful for the reducing the level of the thyroid hormones, either by reducing thyroid hormone function, synthesis or release, or both actions, or by inhibiting the reducing the levels of the T3 and T4 in condition of the hyperthyroidism or otherwise thyroid toxicosis, or in excessive levels in thyrotoxic crisis or thyroid storm. Coming to the important in this topic, classification of anti-thyroid drugs. They are different, depends upon the actions. They are divided, these anti-thyroid drugs, by their action. Some drugs like thyroid hormone by inhibiting the synthesis. The drugs are thioamides or thiourea derivatives. The other drugs are the propyl thiouracil, methimazole, carbimazole. When coming the inhibitors of the iodide trapping, they are called as the ion inhibitors. This is the first step. Ion inhibitors by inhibiting iodide trapping. The drugs are thiocyanates and potassium perchlorates. Then one more, inhibiting the release of the hormones, hormone release inhibitors. The drugs like iodine, iodates of sodium and potassium, and organic iodide. Next, by destroying the thyroid tissue, the drugs like radioactive iodine, especially iodine 131. The others like beta blockers, some cardiac drugs, or corticosteroids. They are the relieve the symptoms of the hyperthyroidism. They are the propranolol, beta blockers, atenolol, then diltiazem, cardiac glycoside, then corticosteroid, dexamethasone. They relieve the symptoms of the hyperthyroidism. Coming to the mechanism of action. There is a mechanism of action depends upon the acts on the hormones, thyroid hormone. There are the 5 steps, especially that is the first step is iodide trapping and binding, then oxidation and iodination, then coupling, then hormone release and storage, and there is a peripheral conversion of the T4 and 3. These are all the 5 steps for thyroid hormone functioning. Whereas the anti-thyroid drugs, they inhibit these actions. The different drugs act in different ways. First one is I told thiourea derivatives. They are the thioamides. The mainly thioamides, they inhibit the actions of by the inhibit the enzyme peroxidase enzyme. They inhibit the conversion of iodide trapping, that is iodide, and also the conversion of the inhibit the deiodination, that is a DIT and MIT, and also inhibit the conversion of T4 and T3. These are the thioamides and also these thioamides by peroxidase enzyme. This is the and different drugs like iodides, they inhibit the conversion of T3 folder and by proteolysis in the blood. Again, they inhibit by the iodinated contrast media. They inhibit the conversion of T4 and T3 into the T3 in the peripheral tissues. Then these are the different drugs. These are beta blockers, amiodarone, and also thioamides. So the thioamides acts as the first with peroxidase inhibiting the iodide, and also the acts on the inhibiting the coupling, that is the DIT, MIT, and also the conversion of T4 and to T3. The main mechanism of action. These are overall picture of the mechanism of action of the thyroid gland. This propylthyroxine also inhibits the alternated peripheral dehydration of T4 to T3. Coming to the pharmacokinetics of propylthiouracil, that is well absorbed orally. The other drugs are carbimazole is converted to the methimazole after absorption orally. They are widely distributed but get accumulated in thyroid gland. These propylthiouracil is having a short half-life, so it should be given every 6 to 8 hours. They are mainly excreted in the urine. They can cause the fetal hypothyroidism. By this can cross the placental barrier, so there are effects on the fetal also. Where the excessive level in hyperthyroid condition, they also reduces the fetal levels T3, T4. They're causing the fetal hypothyroidism by crossing the placental barrier. So these are very helpful in the treatment, in treating the hypothyroidism during pregnancy, because they crosses the placental barrier. They can protect the fetal hyperthyroidism, causing the fetal hypothyroidism. These are preferred drug during pregnancy. Propylthiouracils are thioamides. The adverse effects of these drugs are the skin rashes are most common. The other side effects are the joint pains, fever, hepatitis, and nephritis. There is a lymphadenopathy. Then coming to the important therapeutic uses. This is for long-term treatment of the thyrotoxicosis, where surgery is not indicated, or where radioactive iodine is contraindicated in controlling the thyrotoxicosis. Then it can also be used in combination with radioactive iodine for the faster recovery in thyrotoxicosis. And also treatment in the thyrotoxic crisis, that is otherwise called thyrotoxic storm. It can be used along with the iodides and beta blocker like propranolol in controlling the symptoms before surgery. Then coming to the important preparations and dosage. Is propylthiouracil available in the oral form, that is given orally, absorbed orally, 50 mg tablets. The usual dose is the 300 to 600 milligrams daily in divided doses. One more drug, methimazole, available in 5 and 10 mg tablets. This dose is the 5 to 20 mg. Then coming to the carbimazole, these available in 5, 10 and 20 mg tablets. The dose is for controlling, usually given 30 to 60 milligrams daily, then followed by maintenance, given the 5 to 20 milligrams daily. These are the preparations and dosage of the thioamides. Coming to the second classification, that is the ion inhibitors. These mainly block the iodide trapping or binding. Ion inhibitors. The usual drugs are the thiocyanates and potassium perchlorates. They are usually highly toxic and these are having the highly side effects. So these are nowadays they are not using clinically. Thiocyanates and potassium perchlorates. That belongs to the ion inhibitors. They block the uptake of the iodine by trapping or binding. Then coming to the third classification, important one, usually generally useful in the clinical practice, that is the iodine and iodides. These are the cheapest and oldest drugs. Now also they are using clinical practice, especially in the case of antithyroid drugs in hyperthyroidism. Almost the iodine are having the almost mechanisms or acting on synthesis, release, or storage, or in the peripheral conversion. This high concentration of iodide appears to inhibit the almost all steps in the synthesis of the thyroid hormones and also the release, and they promote the storage of the thyroid hormones T3 and T4. Usually in hyperthyroidism, the diagnostic part, there will be a increased levels of the T3 and T4 levels. And the negative feedback mechanism, there will be a decrease in thyroid stimulating hormone, which is secreted by the anterior pituitary. This is the lab diagnosis of the hyperthyroidism. Increase the levels of the T3 and T4 levels and decrease in the TSH levels. These are common preparations of the iodines and iodates. The commonest available in the market is the Lugol's iodine. The composition of Lugol's iodine is the 5% iodine in 10% solution of the potassium iodide. Then one more drug, that is the iodine contrast media drugs. They are less toxic and they are useful in combination with thiazomates. These are the drugs are the hypodated sodium and hyponic acid. These are useful orally, preoperatively before surgery, that is thyroidectomy, and also in the thyrotoxic crisis, that is the thyroid storm. These are the iodine contrast media preparations, hypodated sodium and hyponic acid. The commonest available in the market is the Lugol's iodine, composition of 5% iodine in 10% solution of potassium iodide. In the Viva, they can ask in the practical what is the composition of Lugol's iodine and the iodide preparations. These mainly they act as this iodides, they render the gland firm, make less vascular, and they decreases the size of the thyroid, which makes surgery convenient. Then with less bleeding, because of less vascularity, there is less bleeding and also less complications. They make the surgery easily, make the convenient for the surgery. They are also useful as a therapeutic use as an expectorant, different preparations, that is the available in potassium iodide, acts as a mucolytic agent that enhances the expectoration. So they are useful as an expectorant and also as an antiseptic for any injuries, any this thing. That drug is the tincture iodine. That is iodine in alcohol. That is useful as an antiseptic. These are all the preparations: potassium iodide, Lugol's iodine. Then as a prophylaxis in endemic goiter, because they reduce the size of the thyroid gland. As a prophylactically, you can use. Then the preparations the iodized salt. Then the preparations, what are prepared? Potassium iodide, tincture iodine, iodized salt, and Lugol's iodine. Different preparations. They can ask in the short notes. Okay? As a prophylactic endemic goiter. The main adverse effects of these iodides, the allergic reactions like skin reactions. Then when there is a chronic overdosage, there is a chance of getting the iodism, chronic overdose of the iodides. The iodism symptoms will be the headache, sneezing, there will be irritation of the eyes, there is a respiratory problem, pulmonary edema, and these can be reversible by reducing the dose of the iodides. This iodism can be reversible by after stopping the iodine. Then one more is the, because of chronic overdose of the iodides, it may reduce up to the high occurrence of the chance of getting the hypothyroidism. The thyroid levels will be little bit low. There's a chance of getting hypothyroidism. Then the chance of getting the iodides during pregnancy, they can cause the fetal goiter because they can cross the placental barrier. So they are contraindicated in pregnancy, iodides, because they are getting the chance of fetal goiter, hypothyroidism. So we have to see the dosage. We should not use for prolonged and also avoid it during pregnancy. One more, iodinated contrast media. These iodinated radio contrast media, they are the oral drugs available. They are less toxic, and the drugs are the epotate and eponoic acid, and also intravenous diazoxide. They are useful in the treatment of the hyperthyroidism because of their richly highly iodinated compounds. They inhibit the, by mechanism of action, they inhibit the deiodination, that is the DID1 and DID2 enzymes, which prevent the conversion of the T4 to T3. These are less toxic. So these can be useful in combination with thiamides. Because of this less toxicity, nowadays these drugs are useful in clinical practice. Intravenous diazoxide in excessive condition of hyperthyroidism. These are the iodinated contrast media. Coming to the fourth classification, that is radioactive iodine. This is therapeutically used radioactive iodine, that is the iodine 131, commonly used. Then one more is the sodium iodide, that is iodine 123. It is useful as a diagnostic scan procedure. The other iodines are the emits gamma rays and beta particles. Sodium iodide. Most common drug is the iodine 131. These beta particles emit gamma rays. They cause destruction of the follicular cells of the thyroid tissue, leading to the fibrosis and correction of the hyperthyroid tissue by destroying the follicular cells. Main mechanism of action of the radioactive iodine. Then coming to the preparation, iodine 131 is used as orally as a solution, available as solution, or in a capsule form. The therapeutic uses, it is used in the hyperthyroidism due to adenoma or carcinoma when surgery is not indicated. You can use the radioactive iodine in such cases where surgery is not suitable for the patient. Usually this radioactive iodine can be given useful therapeutically up above 35 years of the age group. So these are contraindicated because of these causes of placental barrier. They are contraindicated in pregnancy, children, and nursing mothers due to the gamma rays. Then they cross the placental barrier. So these are not useful, indicated in the children, pregnancy, and nursing mothers. These are indicated where surgery is not failed above the 35 years of age group. Where the surgery is not indicated, not suitable for, patient is not for surgery, this radioactive iodine is indicated. Then coming to the advantages of the radioactive iodine, the treatment will be simple, can be done outpatient basis, and it is inexpensive, less cost. There is no risk for surgery or a scar because of the surgery is not suitable, patient is not suitable for surgery, we can use radioactive. So there is no risk of surgery or scar. This permanently cures the hyperthyroidism. This is the main important. It permanently cures hyperthyroidism. That levels will be come down permanently, T3 and T4 levels. Then coming to the disadvantages of radioactive iodine, because they are slow acting, then incidence of hypothyroidism is high. Because the permanent cures and sometimes excessive dosage cause the hypothyroidism. These are contraindicated in pregnant women, children, and young patients. These are useful only the above 35 years of age group. These are all the disadvantages of radioactive iodine. Then coming to other drugs, these are the symptomatically reduces the toxic, highly thyrotoxicosis or thyrotoxic crisis, excessive levels, then they make the patient symptomatic less, relieve the symptoms, not permanently cures the thyroid functioning, thyroid hormone functioning. These are the examples of beta receptor blockers, beta blockers. Either it may be a propranolol, atenolol. Main drug is the propranolol. They are not strictly the anti-thyroid drugs, beta blockers. They produce improvement in symptoms of thyrotoxicosis, like symptoms like tachycardia, palpitation, and tremors. This propranolol has an inhibitory effect on the peripheral conversion of the T4 to T3. This T3 is formed by one MIT plus DIT. These are highly active T3 in peripheral tissues. Whereas T4 is less active, and this T4 levels is found by the already discussed earlier by the DIT plus DIT. This propranolol is a beta blocker, mainly controls the symptoms of palpitation and tremors, which will give especially before surgery or before thyroidectomy, will give for to reduce the symptoms and anxiety. Alright, the therapeutic use of these beta blockers are to control symptoms of thyrotoxicosis initially until before anti-thyroid drugs act. Then also in the in thyrotoxic crisis. That is the condition called, you may ask in the short notes, thyrotoxic storm. Otherwise it causes a thyrotoxic crisis, where is the increased excessive levels of the T3 and T4. And these beta blockers are useful as a preoperatively before thyroid surgery. Then what are the advantages of the anti-thyroid drugs over surgery or using radioactive iodine, that is iodine 131. These advantages of the anti-thyroid drugs. There is no surgical risk, or there is no formation of a scar, or there is less chance of injury to parathyroids or to the injury to the recurrent laryngeal lobe. Then also hypothyroidism, if induced, can be reversible by the anti-thyroid drugs. Whereas in surgery or radioactive, we can't reversible the dose. So if they're getting the chance of hypothyroidism, we can reverse the levels by reducing the dose of the anti-thyroid drugs. It can also, anti-thyroid can also be used even in the children and young adults. Whereas the radioactive can be useful only above the 35 years of age group patients. Whereas anti-thyroid can be used in children and young patients. There's advantages of anti-thyroid drugs. There are also disadvantages of the anti-thyroid drugs. There's a use of prolonged treatment is needed because relapse rate is high. These are used as often lifelong. Then they are not practicable in uncooperative patient or unintelligent patient, because usually they will give orally. So in uncooperative patient or until we can't use these drugs. Then there is a chance of getting the drug toxicity if they use as a prolonged treatment or high dosage. The chance of getting drug toxicity, especially that thiocyanates and perchlorates, ion inhibitors. These are the disadvantages of the anti-thyroid drugs. The important, this is a short note, this one, thyrotoxic crisis or thyroid storm. Condition called, sometimes they ask thyroid storm, means that nothing but thyrotoxic crisis. This is an excessive hypermetabolic state where there is very high levels of circulating thyroid hormones. That is the T3 and T4 levels are very high. They are due to the hypermetabolic state. These symptoms are characterized by the hyperparesia. There is a hyperparesia. There is more than temperature will be more than 102, 103, 104. Body temperature will be more high. Then the chance of getting the cardiac arrhythmias, nausea, vomiting, there will be diarrhea, and also a CNS, similar mental confusion. These are all the symptoms of the thyroid storm. Hyperparexia, cardiac arrhythmias. So this is the emergency condition, the emergency treatment condition for the patient. You should be immediately hospitalized. Usually precipitated by the infections or trauma or due to the uncontrolled diabetes. There is a diabetic ketoacidosis, and during surgery Then when there is a chance myocardial infarction. These are all causes for the precipitation of the thyrotoxic levels in the body. Due to the infections, when there is a trauma or injury, or during surgery, or the uncontrolled diabetes, the diabetic ketoacidosis, or myocardial infarction. These are all the causes, precipitation causes. Then coming to the important part, treatment of the thyroid storm or thyroid toxic crisis. Immediately patient should be hospitalized. Then we have to give a supportive care by controlling the dehydration and oxygenation. If the dehydration should be controlled by giving the electrolyte imbalance adjustment by giving the intravenous fluids, or then controlling the temperature by cool sponging, then giving the cool blankets. Then hydration should be controlled by giving the intravenous fluids or oxygenation, artificial oxygenation. Then the saturation should be maintained. Then we can give the to reduce the anxiety and all. We can give the sedation to control the CNS symptoms. That is mental confusion. Sedative drugs we can give diazepam and all. And we can control the infection control by giving the suitable antibiotics, antimicrobial antibiotics. And also we can give to improve the health of the patient, we can give the vitamins, B complex tablets. That is a supportive care. Then drugs we can give propylthiouracil. We can give by nasogastric tube. Then to oral iodides to inhibit the release of thyroid hormones. We can use the contrast media, iodide, that sodium iodate. This inhibits the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3 so that it decreases the levels of the T3, inhibiting the conversion of the T4 to T3. Then we can give for controlling the symptomatic control of if the patient suffers with a palpitation or tremors, we can give orally or orally propranolol beta blocker or intravenous diltiazem to control palpitation. The intravenous diltiazem can be given if the propranolol is contraindicated. If the patient suffers with any asthmatic respiratory problem, we can give intravenous diltiazem. Then we can give to improve the immunity of the patient, we can give the intravenous hydrocortisone. That is a corticosteroid. It main acts inhibits the peripheral conversion of T4 to T3. T3 is the main for the thyroid hormone because they are more active in the peripheral tissues. This also hydrocortisone also corrects the adrenal insufficiency if present. These are that's the antithyroid drug used for hyperthyroidism and thyrotoxic crisis. Then in part 1, the Ramachandran doctor taught you about treatment of the myxedema, that is the hypothyroidism. The overall summary of this picture, that is part 1 and part 2. Just I am simply discussing what are the causes of hypothyroidism. Hypothyroidism means that decreased levels of the T3 and T4, and by negative feedbackism, there is an increased secretion of thyroid stimulating hormone by the anterior pituitary. Decrease the T3, T4, increase the TSH. Whereas hyperthyroidism, there is an increase the T3, T4 levels and the decrease TSH secretion by anterior pituitary. This hypothyroidism causes the main Hashimoto's thyroiditis, cretinism in children, and myxedema in adults. Then due to hyperthyroidism, the cause are there is occurrence of due to hyperthyroidism, Graves' disease, then increased levels the thyroid storm, already told. Then there is a chance of toxic thyroid nodule because there is a storage in the neck. The thyroid hormones, there is a chance of increasing the size of the thyroid gland. There is a toxic thyroid nodule. The nodule we can, by the lab diagnosis, by the estimation of the T3, T4 levels, or by the FNAC of the thyroid tissue, or by the X-ray, or the MRI scan or CT scan to know the size of the nodule. These are lab investigations. Then overall picture that summarize the hypothyroidism due to the insufficient thyroid hormone. It may be a primary, secondary, tertiary. Primary is due to the thyroid gland failure. Secondary is the pituitary gland failure. And tertiary hypothyroidism due to the hypothalamus failure. They are all the for the causes for the hypothyroidism. Then coming to the causes, why this is a deficiency? Due to the iron deficiency, most common causes of worldwide. It may be a congenital, autoimmune mediate, or Hashimoto's thyroiditis, or it may be iatrogenic, self-induced, due to the post-surgery like post-thyroidectomy or radioiodine treatment. These are the causes for hypothyroidism. It may be drug-induced, as when we use the chronic dose of the anti-thyroid drugs or amiodarone, there is a chance of getting the hypothyroidism. Or when there is a trauma, injury to the thyroid, pituitary or hypothalamus. Or when there is a carcinoma, pituitary tumor. These are all the causes for the hypothyroidism. Already this treatment part and they are treated, you taught in the part 1. There is a myxedema, cretinism, how to treat that. Then what are the signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism? There will be enlarged thyroid gland and there will be a dry hair, including loss of outer third of the eyebrows. Then there will be weight gain. There will be loss of appetite. There will be depression. There will be sensitive to heat and cold, and there will be fatigue. Then patient will be lazy, lethargic. Like these are all the signs and symptoms of hypothyroidism. These are a whole summary of this thyroid and antithyroid. Then the signs is the low BMR. There will be increased cholesterol level, swelling of the face, and look puffy, and there will be a constipation. There is a menstrual irregularities like polymenorrhea or amenorrhea or oligoamenorrhea. These are all the pictures of the hypothyroidism. See, there is a abdominal distension. Then there is a patient is abdominal distension. There is a pedal edema, overweight. Then there is a patient is lethargic, always drowsy and sleepy. This is a patient with depression. There will be enlargement of thyroid gland. There will be edema, pedal edema, or this is lethargic. These are all the signs of the hypothyroidism. There is a puffiness of the face. This buffalo hump will be there. This is the neck. Then what are the causes for hyperthyroidism? Hyperthyroidism nothing but increase in T3 photoreceptors and the decrease in the negative feedback mechanism. There is a decrease in TSH secretion. Low TSH, increase in T3, T4. Hyperthyroidism is excessive production of the thyroid hormone. This is autoimmune. This is a Graves disease. Then females are more affected than male. Usually age group affected is the 20 to 40 age group. Then due to the toxic adenoma and toxic multinodular goiter. These are all the causes for the hyperthyroidism. Then one more is due to the viral thyroiditis. Then some are the long-term fever. Then the neonatal thyrotoxicosis. Then drug induced due to the drug like amiodarone. Then also the thyroid stimulating hormone, pituitary adenoma. These are all the hyperthyroid affecting the eye. There is a exophthalmos. This is the protrusion of the eyes. This is called as a exophthalmos associated with the Graves disease. There is an inflammation of the retroorbital tissues. There is the optic nerve compression leading to the atrophy. The usual symptoms of the eye discomfort, grittiness, excessive tear production, the photophobia, diplopia, decreased acuity. Then signs of this Graves disease or exophthalmos is the proptosis. There is a protrusion of the eyeballs, then ophthalmoplegia, then edema of the eyelids. These are all the Graves' disease or hyperthyroidism, eye disease. These are the whole summary of the hypothyroidism, and I have treated. Important is the classification, that is the antithyroid drugs, especially the iodine preparations, iodides. uh, then that treatment of the treatment part, then thyrotoxicosis crisis, that thyroid storm. These are all important classification. Then there is a combination nowadays in the clinical practice. Every females are more getting affected with hyperthyroidism and also hypothyroidism. Females are getting. Then there is the menstrual irregularities leading to the infertility. So these thyroid is antithyroid drugs, thyroid treatment part are very important in clinical practice. Okay. Once again, I thank everyone for listening. Remove. Stop it.